Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to F1 Manager 22. This is episode number 3. This is the last time. It's the first 3 episodes where it really matters the most for the algorithm to get a boost. So please take that quick second, even though we're just getting started. If you've watched the first 2 episodes, you already know by now that you want to see more of this. Take that quick second, help out with that algorithm, drop down below, click that like button, hit subscribe. Leave that algorithm comment. Let me know what direction you want us to go with this series. Am I making the right decision by focusing on the long-term goal, or should I focus a little more up front or balance the two? What do you think? Leave that comment below. Let's go ahead and get on with the series. After episode 3, you leave that like when you want to leave that like, all right? Albon had a good result in race number 1, beating both of the Aston Martins. As the higher finisher among the two teams, that puts us currently 9th in the Constructors. Even though we have not scored a point, you must be in the top 10 to score in the Constructors Championship. But that is how you break ties, highest finish. Latifi is not going to really factor into that too much throughout this season, so we will focus pretty heavily on Albon and trying to get him that high race finish, because we don't know how or when we will be scoring any points this season, especially as we are, at least currently, planning on upgrades being a little bit on the back seat as we go through. Not in terms of frequency. We want that high quantity of upgrades as we go along, which means we could see other teams kind of pass us up as races go by. As soon as we do have those upgrades, it's going to be really important that we take advantage, because it's going to be a while before the next one comes, right? So as other teams might see their trajectory a little more gradual, we're going to see ours in steps. And so when we make a step, it's going to be really important that we make the most of that in that first race or two, because whatever advantage we gain at that point is going to go away, as others are going to have a little more higher frequency, I would predict anyway, of upgrades coming. We are in the midst of a back-to-back, so we just finished the race weekend, and Saudi Arabia is now just a handful of days away, so we are going to be quickly moving into that next race. This is just the second time that the Jeddah circuit will be used, as late last season. So that was kind of the funny thing, is it went from late season to early season. It was almost back-to-back on top of each other. First 2 races in the history of this circuit. The one area that I might be able to do something right now is going to be in the facilities. Operations facilities, we did. The tour center is nearly done, and I think I'll be looking to turn around and push that again momentarily, as we'll have one remaining level here in just a couple days that, if we can afford, we'll want to do something about. But I'm noticing team attractiveness, I think, is going to be something that we want to do for multiple reasons. One, signing a driver, signing better staff, and then also I think we're looking at hopefully improved sponsor options, right? The more attractive we are, the better sponsors we should have. At least that's my theory on that, and that's why I want to focus on that team attractiveness, because finances are absolutely key here to getting these infrastructure upgrades quick. If you've ever watched me play any of my other sports management series, you'll know that I'm a stickler for it. Take care of the finances. Everything else comes easy. Even though we didn't even have a helipad a couple weeks ago, we're going to just keep right on working on that thing and bring it up to level 3, which is going to give us another percentage point in the sponsor target payouts. This one's a little more expensive. I avoided it the first time around, wanting to wait and see what happens, but I absolutely think this is going to be a big key in finances. We're going to get a team attractiveness bonus, a +5 on the baseline, but we're also going to get a 10% bonus from the facility somehow, some way. Where that applies, I guess we'll find out. It is expensive at nearly $2 million, but primarily that's what we want our money for this season anyway, so why not? And while I'm at it, I might as well just keep things rolling, and we're going to do another one with the boardroom as well. So I'm going big time right now, but hey, yeah, it's going to be worth it. It'll pay off in the end. 2 days later, the tour center is complete. I'll be looking right away into the next upgrade if we can afford it. We can absolutely afford it, and it's not actually going to really help us much at all. Funny thing here, weekly income plus 5,000. Monthly monthly income, or monthly expense, that is, upkeep, plus 7,000. But that's monthly. The other is weekly. So it still does increase our finances. After seeing that our goals last week were really hard to reach, we had an excellent race and still only managed to finish 17th. I feel like this week's going to be very similar on that. I feel like we're going to probably need an upgrade, and as the sponsor bonuses have the same threshold as they had a week ago, I think we're going to end up just paying out instead of receiving. So we are going to not take the added bonuses this time and just go for the base ones and just get through our race weekend.
Formula One is back. Welcome to one of the fastest circuits on the calendar here at Jeddah. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is about to kick off, and the atmosphere here is electric. Jeddah Street Circuit has one of the fastest average speeds, as well as the most corners of any track on the calendar. Good high-speed downforce is going to make life in the fast lane a little easier for drivers here this weekend. At this early stage in the season, there are still plenty of opportunities for things to change. In this sport, there simply are no guarantees. Okay then, let's get to it.
This time around, I have every intention of using the practice sessions to maximize our bonuses entering the race, which absolutely could impact how we perform. So we'll see what we can do this time around. Looking forward to trying out this mechanic. One of the nice things is the car parts knowledge carries over from last week to this one, so we'll have up to a few points out of there as we increase that, hopefully towards 100%. The acclimatization will of course focus on, but the setup confidence is worth the most points, and that's going to be the biggest thing that we try to get after on this one. All right, so we are on the clock for 1 hour. We want to get out there as quickly as possible, but we want to get that car setup, which of course we know absolutely nothing about. No, we do. We actually do have a little bit of leeway coming in, so we want to kind of get somewhere in the middle a little bit on this one and then adjust from there. All right, so I love the fact that making changes takes time. It's realistic in how that works, and so we are reconfiguring both cars a little bit before we head out. And that is both cars heading out of the garage at the same time with changes made. We have our first on-track action in a practice session. The very first go on setup, I did a bit more with Latifi trying to hone it in, where Albin I tried to do some fewer setups, hoping that what it would gain is time. It didn't. They were ready at the exact same time, so the changes we made took the same amount of time.
This car feels very nervous. Okay.
Albon not too happy with the setup, but he is heading to the garage now. We've already got Latifi out for his next run, as we had shortened his first run down a little bit. So for Albin, the whole thing is bad. He does not like it. He is not happy with the setup at all. However, we were out there long enough that we have narrowed the window that we're trying to get into, and that's going to help us out here. Discovering that some of the changes you make take a matter of seconds to adjust. Others take minutes to change. So minor tweaks are good occasionally. Sometimes you're going to have to go for those bigger changes though. So for 3 practice sessions, acclimatization wise, I would think you need to get at least 33% to be to 100% later on. And Albon's looking decent at 22%. He's gaining so much faster than Latifi is, who still only has 10% for some reason. But in terms of setup, feels like we've got Latifi locked in a little bit better so far than Albon, but it's an interesting model. And unlike the race, practice does go significantly faster as you go out and you make a run, and you can really speed it up and just let them do their thing for a little bit, as we are now down to just 9 minutes in the session. So 9 minutes in the session, it's going to be tough to get back out there for another session, because Albin's still not happy at all with the car, though he is half a second quicker than Latifi now. With Albin, I'm not sure we're going to get any feedback on what we do, because we're going to get 2 minutes of running right at the end of the session. But either way, it's still worth it to make those changes and do what you can with it. And so as we go to end the first practice session, we're still very much on the back foot, 18th and 20th quickest so far on the day. But it feels really good to get out there and actually be the one making those decisions, as opposed to that first round where the tutorial pushed it. I've turned the tutorial off, by the way. I've got the game down. Don't need that any longer. I think with 2 more sessions, we will be just fine, except for that Latifi track acclimatization only got to 20%, so he really did not gain as much, maybe because the runs weren't as long for him. So we need to make sure he gets a really long run on the hard compound, I guess. Maybe a medium compound for that one. That'll help make up some ground. He's got some ground to make up there. And in terms of setup, we're getting there. In real life, you usually have things dialed in so much closer before you even start the practice session. Through your models, you make those predictions, and then you come out and you tweak it. The setups are almost never completely off. But here it's the opposite. Here you're starting from scratch and you build it up, and that's what you're doing over your 3 practice sessions, presumably. That's what you're here for. Albin did make the 1/3 of the way on the acclimatization. Latifi definitely short, but car parts knowledge getting close to 100%, so we're going to get that bonus. Right now, setup confidence just not there at the moment, but I think we will get a pretty solid bonus from that one in the end. I think we're going to get higher than the 70% we got last time. It's halfway point of session number 3, and even though we are off the pace, we're on the hard compound, heavy fuel load, not pushing at all, but we have made major gains compared to what we got in race number 1. Last I knew, setup was at 81% and 79%, and I think both of those are probably going to inch a little bit higher, so the bonuses are even better. Getting it just right, though, is really hard, because there's only so much you have to work with change-wise. And so getting that last little bit of comfort, very, very hard to do. But one thing I'm finding to drive up that track acclimatization, long runs make a huge difference on that as you run a lot more laps. So that, of course, makes total sense. Also, in this practice session, Pierre Gasly has crashed out. We didn't red flag the session, but we did have a virtual safety car while the car was cleared from the track, and confidence setup is great on both cars, which does mean it has gone up again with the latest setting. And we now have qualifying underway with a not yet proven setup. So I did make one last tweak before we made that last run, just after the last cutscene that you had, and they haven't finished analyzing this setup to see how much better it is. But the feedback that I have had so far has been good, enough so that I've stuck with both setups, thinking that it's going to give us that little bit more. But we got into mid to high 80s. This might push us even further. Let's go ahead and speed things up, let them get their first lap in, and we'll see how it's looking. Still well off the pace, but well off to what? Ocon is only 0.3 of a second behind. That's usually a good measure if you're not that far off the Alpines. Oh, yeah, 98%. 98% driver setup confidence. That is fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. Let's go ahead and give another run. one more flying lap on the used tires that we have here, and then we will do the same for Albon. And meanwhile, his setup 96. We've got him up to 96%, so that's good. So we're gonna go out for one more on this now used set, and then we will set up for one last run. Hopefully we have enough time to do so. Right now we are well ahead of Tsunoda, but it looks like Tsunoda might have made a mistake on his. Down to 3 minutes 40 seconds. They're heading into the garage now, and there you go. Okay, we want to reconfigure and be ready. Alright, you can see a lot of cars already heading out. Looks like they might be making 2 runs. Rubber in a little bit more as we get out there, and hopefully mount to something. At the moment, we are 18th and 19th, and we are just behind, well, all the way up to 15th. Vettel, just 0.3 of a second, less than 0.3 of a second to cover. Vettel, haven't seen him. Tsunoda climbs to 11th. Magnussen on the bubble. Stroll, only 17th. Latifi is slow in both sectors, though. Somebody's right on Latifi's heel. He's blocking. Oh, the poor Mercedes. But they'll have plenty of time, right? Latifi, well slow, though. Well off the pace. Albon, better chance. He's green in the first 2 sectors. He's blocking an Alfa Romeo, slowing them down. Latifi does not improve his time. He will presumably start last. Albon, yes, Albon jumps to 18th. Albon's going to start 18th. We do not get out of Q1 yet again, but with a huge improvement from the setup, those extra bonuses, maybe we're going to race a little bit higher this time. Ultimately, same starting position as we had last time around, though.
The time has come to fight it out. It's race day.
Williams had a good performance in qualifying. Now they'll be eager to demonstrate that they can have an even better race. Haas met their potential in qualifying, and they'll be expected to make a good start from the grid. Let's see if they can make it work for them. The sky tonight is mostly clear, with only a few clouds. Nothing to worry about for now, but let's see how the situation unfolds.
Well, this is certainly going to be a challenging but no doubt exciting race here in Jeddah. A partly clear night here. The drivers now lined up on the grid. Here we have Alexander Albon. They'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up. Next up for the team, it's Latifi. With their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut out for them. The race start is mere seconds away. We're now moments away from this, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
Starting from the very back, both drivers on the hard to medium one-stop strategy, starting from 18th and 20th. We'll see how they fare in the field, and we'll see how everybody else decided to go with their tactical approach on this one. Stroll going with softs. That's already looking at 2-stop. Ricardo, Tsunoda, Vettel, all going for the 2-stop strategy. Let's hope they get held up in traffic, and let's hope that we are able to hang on as Albon overtake Stroll, but I think that's a re-overtake as they are doing a little back and forth. So if we can hang with this group, we're going to have a serious advantage because A, we have the one-stop strategy, and they're going to lose a lot of time when they do pit, and B, we'll be faster at the end. They're going to have to get off that soft compound. They're going to have to go hard and go long on the hards, or they're going to have to 2-stop. Albon losing a little bit of ground. We need to keep him in DRS range. It's not active yet, but when it does activate, we're going to want to be a little further up. So we need to deploy some as well. We are literally the only car on track, Albin is, that has more than a 1 second interval between them and the car in front. Go ahead and tune in with Albin as we try to make up that ground. Vettel now more than a second behind. Could be good for me in our battle, which will include Mick Schumacher as well. So if Vettel loses pace, that puts us in a back 5. We're going to need a DNF to help us if we're going to escape to 15th or better. But
Stay firm on DRS.
okay, DRS now open. Now enabled, that is. And Albin has closed that gap, so we are back within now 4/10. And we've actually pulled away from Stroll a little bit with that DRS activation. That could be good for Latifi getting ahead of Stroll. We want to get in range of Stroll. DRS, always important. Especially with a car that doesn't quite have the pace of the others. We have such excellent setup options today that we should be at our best. 2x2, we go through with the Aston Martins in the midst of battle with them, and tricky scenario we have here as Stroll overtakes Latifi to get in between the two of us, but at the same time we are trying to just stay in DRS range. We want to stay in contact because we are on different strategies as they're running the softs. Their tires are going to run out fairly quick, and then we can make a push and pull away from them when they start to get a little low, below 50% life. We can be more aggressive. For now, we got to make sure that we stay in that DRS range so that they don't pull away from us. Albin with the overtake on Vettel has moved ahead, and we're going to try to push on and see if we can't close the gap to Mick Schumacher or open the gap away from Vettel. In terms of how these guys are doing right now, we're looking at, they have plenty of life in their tires, so I'm not sure how that was so easy, but maybe it was the setup.
Yeah.
We have opened that gap a little bit, but we have also expended. DRS will go neutral, so we'll at least have some for use. Latifi lost contact. We want to back them up if we can then. Let Latifi get back up in here. Albin passed by Vettel, but Latifi gets back in contact.
Aston Martin have just gained a race position.
And right now we are still in that conserve mode, and I'm not too worried about it. Again, they're on the softs, I'm on the hards, so right now still advantage us, but it's very much looking like we are racing for 17th and 18th, not 19th and 20th, or not higher.
Oh, big lock up there.
Albin with the mistake. Big lockup. He loses not only his 18th position, but he also loses 19th and is 6 seconds behind after that huge mistake from
Push
Albin.
through all corners. Okay, copy.
And he's on the hard compound, but I can't see him going the distance on that, so it does appear that Stroll's going to need another pit stop at some point, and so now it's advantage us, except it's advantage Latifi, realistically, as Stroll, the earliest pitter, will need to pit again, but Albin's mistake has definitely put him behind with some ground to make up. Latifi getting up beside Vettel once, twice, 3 times, and makes the pass. And we're going to try to continue on and drive away, and it looks like he has pit. So we're going to go neutral on the ERS. We will continue pushing on for a little bit longer, though, to open up a gap. Race situation here on lap 14. Ricciardo has caught up to Latifi, but Latifi should get the benefit of the DRS once Ricciardo gets by, as we should be able to hang with him for a while. Meanwhile, we've got a fairly good gap over Stroll and Vettel, 12 seconds.
McLaren gain the
Stroll,
position.
Albon is ahead of Vettel by 12 seconds. Stroll just behind him, so those two running with each other. Eventually, yes, we need to pit, but we've got that 12 seconds or so. If we can hold pace for a long time, if we can keep that gap roughly the same, our one-stop strategy, that 12 seconds, where do they make up that ground? They're going to be on these hards for quite a while, and we found that we can keep with them. So I think realistically, we've got a wonderful chance of finishing ahead of the 2 Aston Martins, but otherwise having a very quiet race, because unlike last race, where Mick Schumacher was definitely off the pace and we hung with him for a very long time before we had that one little incident where that blue flag as Tsunoda gets around Latifi, by the way. So now the Ricciardo and Tsunoda, with their fresh tires and faster cars, have now gotten past both of our guys, not just one. Gap between Latifi and Albon has come down by about 1 second, so Albon is a little faster than Latifi is, but because of the mistake he made, he's got some ground to make up, and this race is either one of theirs. Could go either way between them, but I think we are realistically racing for 17th and 18th. Also, Stroll has dropped off from Albon, and Albon continues to close up on Latifi. Checking in on how these two are doing, as we have not been pushing, but tire wear is good. Here we've been pushing, but tire wear is good, and we don't seem to be overheating. We have not been having issues with it, though at some point we will. So we'll back off for a little while here. Medium compound drivers are now using their first pit stops. So all of those on the soft pit a while ago, now we've got all the mediums pitting. This will change things as we are going to move ahead of Mick Schumacher had such an advantage over us that he pits and comes out just ahead of Latifi and Albon. It looks like they were maybe side by side as he exited, but ouch on that part. And at the moment, everyone on track is on the hard compound. So every single driver that pit, that started the race on either softs or mediums, all pit to the hards. Now, those that did the mediums should be able to go to the end. Those that did the softs will not. It's lap 22. This race going by a lot faster, especially as we are looking to be somewhere in that no man's land of ahead of the Aston Martins, behind everybody else. And all that can really help us out is somebody DNFs to move up the order, but I think we are pretty locked in for 17th and 18th. Albon has caught up to Latifi, by the way. They are on same strategies, so no reason to issue team orders. Albon gets a look to the inside and completes the pass. Now, can he hold him off and stay ahead? And he does through the main straight. Will he open that gap from here? Meanwhile, we still have Vettel at about 11 seconds behind. He's gained 1 second on us, and that's it. And that is the gap he had to Albon. Now, meanwhile, Latifi is going backwards. So you know, the 6-second gap that we had there whittled down to 3, whittled down to nothing, and now is the two of them battling, which is definitely not good for us. Meanwhile, race situation at the front, Leclerc leads by 17 seconds from Verstappen, Sainz just behind him, and Perez close back from there. So we have a 3-car race again, but this time it's a race for second, as Leclerc has a pretty sizable gap. Leclerc has not pit though. Leclerc started on the hard compound. Alonso, Russell, Zhou, and Latifi and Albon have not pit. And then you have Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Vettel, Stroll, who all went out on the soft compound and pit very early and are looking at the 2-stop strategies. Sector 1, yellow flag, cleared up fast. Albon, Latifi, Stroll with the lockup. He loses, looks like about 6 seconds from where he was after that mistake. Not a fan of these two battling it out like this. Tire wear seems to be right where we want it to be, though it is definitely going to fall off, so I think we really need to go standard here. Okay, entering the pit window. 3 laps is the optimal time, but again, I don't think we're in the best of shape to make it 3 laps for both drivers. So we are going to have to mix that strategy, and we do need to keep an eye on the tire wear as both drivers are at 37%. Estimated time lost is 20 seconds. Well, 19 and a half. I'm going to bring in Albon now.
We'll be boxing.
Latifi's going to go one more lap.
Okay, box.
One final turn. And we will tell Latifi to push. Just on the tires, though. And it's Albon into the pits. Stop is 2.773 for Albon. And he's going to head back out on track. And Stroll pits now. Wow. That's awfully early considering he was on those hards 9 laps less than we were. Uh-oh. Latifi runs wide on his push lap, on his in lap. That's going to hurt his time.
I made a mistake.
We can take a look now. Now let's look. We're watching
Here's his
Nicholas
mistake.
Latifi.
Oh,
And yes,
right at
that's
the end.
the lockup.
That cost him a lot of time. That
The team
cost
are
him a lot of time
devastated.
run and ride.
They'll be questioning just what happened out there.
Worn tires, pushing on the in lap. That hurts. So I think it's clear that Albon's now going to be ahead of Latifi, no doubt about that. But where are we going to be at in relation to Vettel and Stroll? Stroll with his pit stop is 23.5 seconds behind Albon. So for that, I think Latifi is going to be ahead because the estimated time loss is 19.5. That's going to be awfully close, and I think Latifi's going to have to push on for a little bit. Otherwise, Vettel might come out ahead of him. I think he lost quite a bit of time. I think his 10.5 second advantage is very much in jeopardy. Latifi on pit road. Alright, meanwhile, first off, Vettel, 27 seconds back of anybody else. We're not catching them. You're not catching them. Even those guys that are going to double stop. We're over a lap down now, by the way. Vettel, Sonoda, Ricardo, all seemingly will need to pit again. Leclerc did pit, by the way, comes out on the mediums in second place, or is in second place, and just 0.3 of a second behind. You got to make him a favorite to win at this point from that kind of position. Our gap to each other. Not looking bad. It's not bad. It's 13 seconds, 14 seconds. Latifi behind Vettel. He loses 19. That's going to bring him back out about 5 seconds behind us. And Stroll, not a problem, 20 seconds back. So Latifi well clear of Stroll, but his battle for 18th is against Vettel. And his battle for 17th, I think he's lost it. I mean, he's going to be too far behind Albon now. And Vettel comes back out 4 seconds behind with a couple lap newer tires. Slightly fresher. It's going to give him a little advantage, and Latifi is definitely not as fast as Albon, and he's not going to benefit from the DRS like he had earlier. His laps being a single lap fresher than Albon could help. Instead of a gap of about 3 laps, it's only a gap of 2 laps from him to Vettel. Albon's in no man's land. We're not even going to worry about him anytime soon. He is out there all alone. What we are going to focus on, though, is Latifi and trying to hold a gap to Vettel. Vettel is pushing. Whoa! Latifi, Vettel caught up. Vettel caught up in an instant and went by. We had a 4-second gap, and just like that, he caught up 4 seconds in an instant. I think we were getting lapped. Was it a blue flag situation? Do we have somebody in front of us? We are 19th. Yes, we do. Two Mercedes coming through, and we get out of the way, and Vettel goes on through. Ocon with the lockup, that's going to keep him back far enough. We won't need to worry about Ocon. We get up beside, Latifi gets up beside Vettel for a moment. He gets up beside him again for a second time. I don't know what is going on with our team when it comes to blue flags. That was the problem we had last time. That is why we lost the position to Mick Schumacher, and not only lost the position as Latifi does get back ahead, but we have to keep on pushing to try to keep Vettel at bay. Just a few laps to go. Full attack, full defend, full deploy of the RS. Vettel really going for it. Of course, that DRS is helping him out, and he looks to make a move. Can't make it. Looks to make another move, side by side, and completes it.
So what DRS? Coffee.
Okay, we're gonna harvest. Oh, is he pulling away from you? How are you this slow?
Use of attack.
You're full on overtake,
Coffee.
and he's pulling away from you. Not significantly different on the tires. Well, 15%. They're definitely fresher, but Latifi nearly goes out of DRS range, even though all we did was harvest a little bit. We're going to have to go back into the attack. Hopefully we can beat him. Doesn't look good for Latifi. Last lap. Leclerc does have the lead, but Verstappen just a 1/10 of a second behind. The race is on. Leclerc on the medium compound, though. Verstappen on his very used hards.
Copy.
Russell crashes. Do we have a chance? Latifi cuts to the inside. Oh, blocked by Vettel. He's got him. He's got him. Can he get him?
DRS is currently disabled. ERS is currently disabled.
Oh, runs out of ERS. He almost had the move done. He's still got a chance. He's got the inside. But Vettel pulls just ahead. Half a minute behind Tsunoda. Vettel 8.5 seconds behind. And here comes Latifi. He is up beside Vettel and he has moved beyond Vettel. Yes, he has done it.
Keep doing what you're doing.
We used up all of his ERS, I'm sure, in that, so he's not going to have anything left either. We've been pushing him for laps.
And there's an overtake from Williams.
Latifi with that overtake, that is huge. He's gotten back ahead, and that will make us, as we push on to the finish, that will make us 17th and 18th, beating the Aston Martins. Leclerc hangs on for the win, just ahead of Verstappen. Sainz, Perez, Hamilton, your top 5. Russell recovers from his mistake, but he is only going to be in 8th place. Schumacher, Tsunoda, Ricciardo at the back. It should be Albon and Latifi after that if we can hold off Vettel. Vettel trying to make a move, trying to come back at us. Oh, maybe. Maybe not. Vettel's gonna have a look. Final turn. Final turn, and we hold him off so far, but will we get to the finish line ahead of him? Side-by-side action for the finish. I think we've got him. I think we've got him. Yes, we do. That's across the line. Just a 1/10 of a second ahead. Latifi wins his first head-to-head battle with Vettel. Of course, that battle only existed because Latifi made a pretty big mistake that cost him about 10 seconds. In the end, he was just below that, behind Albon. He benefited from the DRS earlier following him, and of course he pushed a lot harder here at the end. Wow, Albon didn't have anything to push for and just cruised on to the finish line. Good result though,
An okay performance. for
all
Alex
things
Albon
considered.
today.
That's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Remember, last time I was going to ask this
was a
one, please
mixed
take that second, drop
performance
down
from
below,
Williams today.
like, comment,
Some
subscribe,
excellent decisions
and I'll see you
then
now on
some
the next one.
strategies that will need a
Have a
bit
good
of
one. Be
work.
safe out there.
There's no
Bye for
rest
now.
for F1 teams. Let's hope their hard work can get them closer to exceeding expectations in the next race.